What's going on, everyone? We are back with episode 14 of Instant Replay. Unfortunately, as you can probably see, it's only me tonight. Unfortunately, Matt couldn't make it, but the show must go on. And right now, if you are a college sports fan, you are in pure heaven. It is the best time of the year because we have the March Madness tournament going on. I am super excited, and today I am going to tell you how you are going to get yourself a perfect bracket and make Warren Buffett want to give you $1 billion. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. We're going to go section by section. Unfortunately, I do not have a big electronic board that Charles Barkley won't be able to figure out how to use. So, I'm going to require you to get your own bracket and pretty much just follow along. I'm going to tell you my picks, why I think certain teams are going to win, who I really like, some sleeper picks, upset picks. So let's get right into it. We're going to start in the South region in the top, where we have the top seeds: Kansas, Villanova, Miami, and California. Those are the top four seeds in this region. So to start right off, I'm just going to give you my first round winners. I got Kansas over Austin Peay, Colorado over UConn, Maryland, Cal, Arizona, Miami, Temple, and Villanova. So really, they're the only upset. We got Temple beating Iowa, the 10 over the 7. Really, if I'm the Kansas Jayhawks, I look at this region and I'm actually a little upset. There are some really good teams that we see. We got Cal as a 4, Maryland as a 5, potentially having to meet one of them in the Sweet 16. That's not a very favorable matchup if I'm the Kansas Jayhawks, which are my boys. So I'm not too pleased with that. It's really deep top to bottom, but let's just go into a couple of the matchups. So Kansas obviously beats Austin Peay. I don't think anyone really sees anything other than that. Kansas is playing some great ball right now. Really an overall team game. They're just wiping away the Big 12. Easily the best conference in college basketball. Super exciting if you're a Jayhawks fan like me. I can't see really any issues with Austin Peay. I don't think they're going to become the first 16 seed to beat a number 1. Next, Colorado. I really like this team. I know a lot of people are going UConn, mainly just because of the name, I think. So UConn was about a 2-point favorite last time I checked. I like Colorado by as many as 5 or 6. I think they're really upper class heavy, and they kind of have this overwhelming size, and they rebound really well. Really, and those are types of things that I like and I look for in a team come this time. You're gonna notice really quickly that I like size in this tournament. I like strong rebounding teams that play a physical game. I really don't like picking jump shooters. Those teams that rely a lot on the jump shot to get places. 3-point teams I don't mind, but it's those long twos that I really just in the pressure of a March Madness tournament, I'm not really going with many of them. So let's go Colorado first. Maryland, they've got 2 superstars, Diamond Stone and Melo Tremblay. Really, what more can you say? People are picking South Dakota State. I can't see it personally. Moving on, California, Hawaii. Cal's the obvious pick here. Cal is really good. They have 2 top 10 picks in this upcoming draft. Ivan Rabb and Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown could actually go as high as 3, and that's where I have him in my mock. I'll be interested to see though. Story just came out right now about them firing their assistant coach. Apparently, he sexually harassed a reporter, so that could cause some a negative flow in that locker room. So we'll see how they fare after that. Arizona and the winner of Vanderbilt and Wichita State. This is a really interesting pick. People are liking Wichita State to come out of that game, which we'll actually see later tonight, the play-in game. I'm really looking forward to it. I think both teams are pretty good. It's probably the best play-in game we've ever had, to be honest. And people are kind of undervaluing Arizona. I love the Wildcats. I think they're a really strong team playing a tough Pac-12 conference. They don't really have a bad loss except for the loss at Colorado. I think that hurts them a little bit. But if you look at kind of the losses they've had, they've been all to kind of ranked teams. Maybe not ranked at the time, but if we look at them now, yeah, they're ranked. They're good, solid teams. They have 3 scorers: Anderson, York, and Trier. And again, they're upper class heavy, big bodies. I know I've said I love those type of teams, so I see them beating whoever comes out of that game. I think it'll be Wichita State. Yeah, I like Arizona, and you're going to find out a little later that I actually like them a lot more. Miami beats Buffalo. Not much to analyze there. Don't really know a whole lot about Buffalo, to be honest, but Miami's a really solid team. Couple bad losses, but experienced and have a lot of different scorers. So my upset pick, Temple. Really, this pick comes not because I think Temple is a better team, but because Iowa is just playing such bad basketball right now. I've been super unimpressed with them. And, I think you got to have a little bit of momentum coming into this tournament. I think, really, if you had looked a month ago, a 7 seed would have seemed crazy for this Iowa Hawkeyes team. But they just, like I said, they haven't played well at all. I'm picking the hot team. I'm going with Temple, and then obviously Villanova over UNC Asheville. So that's my second round there. Next, KU Colorado. I got the Jayhawks moving on. I just don't think Colorado's going to be able to keep up with them. Cal beats Maryland. Again, those 2 stars. I don't really see anyone beating them. Arizona, Miami. I'm going with the Wildcats. I'm going with Arizona. I just love this team. I think that they get scoring from different places. They're big. They rebound really well. And kind of they have that veteran presence that's going to help lead a lot of these teams very far into this tournament. So I'm going with Arizona, the upset over Miami, and I've got Villanova beating Temple. So that rounds out our Sweet 16 in this section. Kansas versus California. I've got KU Rock Chalk. Did you really think I was going to pick anyone else? But no, I think Kansas is the deepest team in this tournament. I can see them having a little bit of difficulty dealing with Brown and Rab. But in the end, I think the Jayhawks prevail. I think their depth prevails in this matchup. So KU to the Elite Eight. And I think the train stops for Arizona. Villanova, they're big and physical, upper class. They're heavy and they're deep. I think as much as I would like to pick Arizona, I think the bus can only go so far. So I'm going with a 1-2 matchup in the Elite Eight, Kansas and Villanova. And do you really think I was going to pick anyone but the Jayhawks? Let's be honest. So I got KU going to the Final Four. I think overall they're the best team in this tournament. Like I said, deepest. They got really good stars. Perry Ellis, Wayne Selden, Frank Mason, and then Devontae Graham has been playing out of his mind recently. Add that to the awesome play of Landon Lucas, and you've got a really solid starting 5 there. Not to mention some really, really good depth coming off the bench. So I think they're an exciting team. They don't really have one big superstar, but they play the team game, and they're experienced. So I like them coming out of the South. Moving on to the West now, we got the top seeds: Oregon, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and Duke are your top 4. Let's get right into it. I got Oregon playing against Holy Cross. I think Oregon slaps them, to be honest. I got St. Joe's, Baylor, Duke, Texas A&M, VCU, and Oklahoma winning the first round games. I'm not a huge fan of Oregon, to be honest. I haven't really watched them play a lot of ball. They're really hot right now. A couple bad losses, but they're playing their best ball of the season right now. So and let's be honest, 16s don't beat 1s. So I'm going with Oregon first round. St. Joe's, they're the unlikely winner of that Atlantic 10 tournament. And let's not forget, that is a Power 7 conference. There's some really good teams that come out of there. They're big, heavy, and physical. And like I've said, I like those teams. So I'm going with St. Joe's. Baylor is one of my favorite teams in this tournament. I hated when Kansas played Baylor this year. Just because they're so strong up front. You got Motley and Prince, rebounding machines, scoring machines inside. They're going to need to get some good guard play, though. That's kind of been their weak point this year. If they can feed the big guys the ball and get even mediocre guard play, I can see them going very far in this tournament. But I like them over Yale. That's a bit of a tough matchup, though. Yale is kind of one of those teams that could surprise. So if you're going to circle maybe one of those 5 versus 12 games that I know have caused a lot of upsets, that's the one I would target for sure. The Baylor Yale game. Duke UNC Wilmot. I'm going with Duke. To be honest, I can't tell you anyone who knows a thing about the other team. Duke, really strong starting 5. It's like Grayson Allen, Brandon Ingram. I don't think there's anyone anyone on the UNC team that could really, or sorry, the UNC Wilmot team, that could really impact them. So, I mean, I can't see it happening. People have talked about this upset a little bit. A little disappointed with Duke. I think people are freaking out a little bit over the bad year they've had, but I got Duke going through. Interesting game upcoming next, Texas and Northern Iowa. I like the Longhorns in this. I'm a Big 12 guy. Their physical team is solid bigs, lots of upperclassmen again. Not playing some great ball right now, but I like them over Northern Iowa. I got the Aggies over Green Bay from Texas A&M. Yeah, I can't see Green Bay beating the Aggies. They're playing some good ball right now. I know, tough loss to Kentucky in the SEC championship. Yeah, I can't see Green Bay pulling one out there. VCU. I like the Atlantic 10. I think I don't know what it is. I just like the Rams. I picked them to win the tournament. They unfortunately disappointed me a little. But I like them over Oregon State. They're excuse me. They've got a lot of seniors on their team, a lot of upperclassmen, playing some decent ball right now. So I like them over Oregon State. And Oklahoma, Buddy Hield. What more do you need to say? Yeah, I like the way Buddy Hield plays. Ryan Spangler, they're experienced. Need to find better defense. They haven't been playing very good defense recently. Not a great brand of basketball. If they're going to advance in this tournament, I think they gotta buckle down on the back end of the court, and got to get that jump shooting started again. I know I said I hated jump shooting teams, but this is my exception here. I really like the Sooners. Next round, I got Oregon beating St. Joe's, Baylor beating Duke in a bit of an upset there. Texas A&M beating Texas, and then Oklahoma over VCU. So apart from Baylor beating Duke, we got all of our top seeds going through to the Sweet 16. And then Elite 8, I have the Baylor Bears beating the Oregon Ducks. The reason why I say this, I really like Baylor. I think their bigs are just so dominant, and they're able to eat up rebounds in a tournament like March Madness where the crowd's going to be going nuts. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere. Teams are going to be bearing down on defense. I think it's those teams that can play physical and can really rebound the ball well are going to have success. And those teams that aren't necessarily going to get, that don't necessarily rely on jump shooting or low percentage shots to win, I think those teams are going to do well. Baylor's one of them. Like I said before, they just need a little bit of strong guard play, and I think they'll be just fine. And I could see them pulling off the upset over Oregon. So I've got Baylor over Oregon, and then Oklahoma over Texas A&M. This is my one jump shooting team that I'm going with. I like the Sooners. They've played some fantastic games against Kansas this year, so I've gotten to see them play a lot, and you know what, I just like this team. They're experienced. Buddy Hield, Ryan Spangler, really, what more do you want in a guard forward combo? They're both playing out of their minds, but the defense is a little suspect. In the Elite 8, Oklahoma or Baylor, a nice Big 12 matchup there. I got the Sooners winning that one. I think that again, Hield and Spangler are just going to come out on top. Spangler will kind of help balance out that forward situation that Baylor has. So I'm going with Oklahoma. Looking now at the East, we have UNC, Xavier, West Virginia, and Kentucky as the top seeds. If I am North Carolina, much like Kansas, I look at this bracket and I'm not happy with some of the teams that are in here in comparison to some of the other regions. Really, this is, in my opinion, the deepest portion of the bracket. You got some great teams here. So let's get right into it. I got UNC over who I assume will be Florida Gulf Coast after tonight. Quite frankly, I don't know anything about the other team. So we're going with Florida Gulf Coast to win that play-in game. I got Providence over USC. Chris Dunn, what more do you need to say? Let's not forget that this Providence team was ranked for most of the season. Had some bad losses. They've got some... they're a really strong team. A little overlooked, I think, in this. This is actually, I picked them to do very well in their conference tournament. They didn't, unfortunately. This is a team I really like. I think they're really underseeded at 9. Quite frankly, I'm a little ticked if I'm UNC that I got to play them second round. Moving on, Indiana, Chattanooga. I've got Indiana. They got strong guard play. They do take lots of jump shots. We'll get into that a little later. Kentucky, same sort of thing. A lot of jump shots. Pretty bad bigs, to be honest. I've watched a lot of Kentucky basketball this year. Their bigs are absolutely useless, but I don't see it being a problem against Stony Brook. I've got Michigan beating Tulsa in the play-in game to play Notre Dame. Quite frankly, it's a little embarrassing that Tulsa got in this tournament. I don't know how on earth they did. I think Michigan will beat them up, even though they're not a great team on their own. So I've got Notre Dame beating Michigan, I believe. West Virginia winning that 3-14 game. Wisconsin over Pitt. I really like Wisconsin. They've got a lot of spread talent over their starting 5. Anyone can score. I really like that Badgers team, even though they lost a little from last year with the exit Sam Decker and Frank the Tank. I think they've rebounded well this season and could do some damage in this tournament. And I've got Xavier over Weber State. Going back up to the top, this was a little bit of a tough one, I'm going to be honest. I think Providence is better than people think they are. Ultimately, I had to go with UNC in this one to get to the Sweet 16. Indiana and UK, I've got the Kentucky Wildcats. I know Kentucky was a little ticked about this draw. Quite frankly, I wouldn't be if I was them. Indiana plays the same sort of game that they do, lots of jump shots, matches up really well with their weak big play, quite frankly. So I'm not as ticked as I would be just looking at this if I'm Kentucky. So I like them to move on and beat Indiana. Next game, West Virginia, Notre Dame. I love this West Virginia team. Again, Jayshawn Page, Devin Williams. They're deep, they're big, they're physical. And that press, that full court press they run is absolutely nasty. Again, I've gotten to see them play a lot in Big 12 action. They beat Kansas when Kansas was ranked as the top team earlier this year. And they're just a really solid overall team, play some strong defense. And in a tournament like this, defense wins championships. So I've got West Virginia. Then my second kind of upset pick, I've got Wisconsin over Xavier. I like the Badgers. Their starting 5 is really, really good. They can score. Any one of them can score. What worries me about Xavier, the Musketeers, they don't have any guard depth behind Davis. And I know I know that it's the stars that kind of take over this tournament, but depth wins you championships. As much as maybe we don't want to admit it, we want to see the stars do really, really well. I like teams with depth in this. It's what happens when your starting point guard picks up 2 early fouls, right? You got to look to your bench. If there's no one there in a 1-game elimination tournament, you're done, right? So I actually like the Wisconsin Badgers. They don't have huge depth, but their solid 7 are really, really good, and they've got a spread out overall balanced team. So I like the Badgers to win. So again, we got UNC and UK for a spot in the Elite 8. I'm going with UNC. I just think they're more talented than Kentucky is. I think you got Bryce Johnson and Marcus Page who are playing some really, really good basketball. I don't think anyone's going to be able to match up with Johnson on Kentucky. Like I said, their bigs are pretty useless. So I expect this game to be not close at all. I expect UNC to wipe the floor with them, quite frankly. And then West Virginia against Wisconsin. I like West Virginia. I think the magic runs out for the Badgers. West Virginia, that press is really, really good, and they've gotten some really good play from Page and Williams recently. So yeah, I like the Mountaineers to move on. And in terms of the Elite 8, UNC, West Virginia, I toyed with this game a lot, actually. I would have loved to put another Big 12 team in the Final Four, but I had to go UNC. I just think they're too deep and too talented not to go through. All right, moving on to the Midwest, our final region. I don't want to take too long, so I'm just going to go through my picks here. Virginia, Butler, Purdue, Iowa State, Gonzaga is my upset pick here. Utah, Dayton, and Michigan State are my first round. Texas Tech, Butler could be an interesting game. Both teams are playing okay. Texas Tech had a really disappointing showing in the Big 12 tournament. Butler's playing pretty well right now. Iowa State, someone to watch for. George Niang, they've got a solid starting five, and they're a really deep team. Gonzaga, I like their front court. They're strong and can rebound. They've got a lot of muscle and they're playing good ball right now, so that's why I like that upset over Seton Hall. So in my Sweet 16, I've got Virginia beating Butler. To get to the Sweet 16. Iowa State beating Purdue, Utah beating Gonzaga, and Michigan State beating Dayton. So the top 4 seeds go through there. Michigan State to beat Utah, Virginia to beat Iowa State to get to the Elite 8. And then I love this Michigan State basketball team. I got them going to the Final Four over Virginia in that 1-2 matchup. They are super, super deep. I think they're the deepest team besides the Kansas Jayhawks. If you look at that starting 5, you got Denzel Valentine, Deontay Davis, Costello, Forbes, and Harris. That's a really solid starting 5 when any of them could really take over a game at any given time and be the guy that Michigan State needs. Denzel Valentine does it all. I mean, if you look at how he played throughout his conference tournament, the guy played 3 games, led his team in the 3 major statistical categories every game, so points, rebounding, and assists, averaged 17 points, 9 boards, and 9 assists. Like, how can he do much better than that? That's absolutely incredible. I think he's playing his best ball of the year right now. Giving Buddy Hield a run for Player of the Year. So I like Michigan State. Then we get to the Final Four. I've got a sweet matchup between Kansas and Oklahoma. Hopefully we'll get another triple overtime thriller like we did earlier in the year. I've got Kansas coming out on top like they did in that game. I just think that Kansas is a deeper team. Again, the jump shooting kind of runs out when you match up against a solid defensive team like Kansas. So I've got Kansas over Oklahoma, and then Michigan State over UNC. I just think both teams are so incredibly talented, but I think it's the depth of Michigan State, and Denzel Valentine will kind of be that it factor. I think he'll outplay Marcus Page, so I've got Michigan State going to the final. And for the national championship, Kansas versus Michigan State, rock chalk. I got the Kansas Jayhawks winning the NCAA tournament, the national championship. They're the deepest team. I know it's a matchup of probably the 2 deepest teams in the tournament. I just think overall the experience of Perry Ellis, Wayne Selden, Frank Mason is going to help this team really. And if Devontae Graham plays throughout the tournament the way he's been playing right now, I can't see anyone stopping this. They're getting great center play out of Landon Lucas right now. The team's excited. They're fired up. They haven't lost. I can't even remember the last time they lost. They're playing awesome basketball right now. And really, I can't see anyone upsetting them until Final Four time comes. And let's be honest, it's anyone's game at that point. But I like the Kansas Jayhawks. I know, a bit of a homer pick, but I think they're the deepest team, and I think they're the most skilled. So there you have it. Kansas is going to win the 2016 NCAA March Madness tournament. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you do well with your brackets. Hope you take a lot of my picks and enjoy the tournament. Have a good night.